Season 35. Season 35. Season 35. Season 35. First clock, same crown. Still have to range down when it's sight. Holy gunning every night. Repeat talk every show. Everybody wants that home. History knocking at the door. Nobody done this before. Every snap, every drive, every week on the line. Reckless reset. Expectations don't. You either match it or you won't.
Beat drops hard.
Cause game day, no delay, prove it now, make it play, season play, 35, new one, chasing one, and stopping one, NDL, game day.
What's going on, everybody? NDL Game Day Season 35 final reveal today. This is Lick. I'm here with Hubbard, Penguin, and Pat. This morning, we also have two special guests from the CFP committee chairman, 6 Feet, will be joining us later, as well as AU Tiger will join us on the show. Been on the committee the last couple of years, so he'll be able to offer a lot of insight on the difference between the two seasons and the different members. Man, let's talk about, obviously, there's no secret right now. All of our long NDL Game Day fans can probably notice something a little bit different. Penguin, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. A little more room to move than normal. So it's not quite as cozy as I'm used to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had a little over-under on who would say something first, and it was obviously Homie is the first one right away. Can't get anything by him.
Yeah, I was gonna say we
Yep.
barely even got the show started, and Homie's already noticing the. I was confused when I jumped on. I was like, "Man, Penguin, don't go to the light. Don't go to the light, Penguin. Don't."
Yes.
He's got that team's background right now. You know,
Yeah. That's it. Yep.
So tell us a little bit about the bookstore, right? Moving in this week. When are you guys opening? Give us that rundown.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, it's been an absolute whirlwind. We got cleared out of the original location, which we were releasing. What was that Thursday? I want to say whatever the last day of the month was. I don't know. It all kind of blurs together. And now we've been in here setting up, getting things right. You see, my wife and her crew have been putting in a lot of work. You can see a little bit of mayhem back here and stuff going on in the back room. We can do a tour later if people want, but I mean, or better yet, you can come over to find yourself in East Tennessee, come to downtown Madisonville, and come check Story Hollow Bookstore out. You know, it's a quaint little spot. Restaurants on both sides of us, and once I have it set up, I'll show you all. Upstairs here is where my new little cubby and place will be. As people mentioned, I will have to bring some flannels up there just to set the ambiance quite right. But have a new little spot for when I'm on shows and to play my games. It'll be beautiful.
I guess the question is, what are the restaurants that are right beside you? What can we get to eat there?
There's an Italian place next door which has got some pretty solid pasta dishes. The pizza is is okay, but the pasta and the desserts are pretty solid. And then there's a country hometown cooking or whatever place next door that has a buffet, which is very popular with the locals. And they've got a burger on the menu, which they use for their buns, a couple of hefty glazed donuts, which is makes you have to sleep literally afterwards. So there's some things worth getting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm gonna go eat in East Tennessee, I'm not going to the Italian place. I'm gonna be honest. I'm going to the home cooking buffet
Yeah.
with the donuts burger.
There is a pizza place a couple miles away. Shout them out, Legends and Lore, which is freaking awesome. I'll go there almost once a week, and they have some of the best wings I've ever had in my life.
There you go.
All right.
So what about you, Jeremy? What are you up to this weekend? That doesn't look like you're in a hotel.
No hotel this weekend. Yeah, I learned how to mute my microphone for the first time. I honestly last week learned that muting my actual microphone does not work. Actually, I've been doing that for 2 seasons, so that's great to know. No telling what you've heard me say. No, man, just hanging out. I think it's my last weekend home with no kids back from college, which means I'm not wearing pants all weekend. I'm just gonna be honest. Any room in the house.
Prove it.
Outstanding. Outstanding.
I think I got a few more days left to wear no pants. But man, as a teacher, like this is the best time of the year, right? Because you're a couple weeks away from being done, getting a couple months off, just in time for us to have no games. So that's exactly what I'm looking forward to about the summer. I'll probably scrimmage our friend Tiger will be on here later. I only scrimmage him about every other day, and he beats me by 30 every time. So got 30 scrimmages with him to look forward to. No, man, just kind of a low, chill weekend for sure.
Yeah.
No, my wife's sitting by now. She actually let me know I'm actually going to a school play at 2:00 today, Pat. I know that would be very interesting for you. A production of Frozen by a bunch of high school kids. That'll be great.
Oh man, our little Jack loves "Let It Go," the song, right? Like that's like his thing right now.
Yeah, I've never seen the movies, so I don't have any idea what to expect. I just have some players that are in it, so I'm going to go watch one time only. And I've heard it's like 3.5 hours long, Pat. It'll be a great weekend.
Oh my
How
God.
exciting is that going to be for you? Getting to
Hey,
learn the new story and everything.
Here, I'll send you one of my seltzers. You'll enjoy the shit out of the show.
Yeah, the weed seltzer sounds great right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
I skipped that one this week. I got a little too giggly last week.
So you were in fine form.
Thank you. Thank you. I listened back. I thought it was great.
We do have
remember.
go
And
ahead,
Tim,
Pat.
I know you're not going to ask me how I'm doing.
I was just getting ready
but
to
I'm
ask
good.
you.
Yeah. So, hey, I want to get the audience, the listeners fired up this morning because there's some tight buttholes out there. Yeah, I said it. There was a convo about LeBron being the best or not in the chat, and I think Timmy said last night in the live chat he's 41. Isn't that incredible? And it just came to my mind when anyone tries to disparage that Tom Brady is not the greatest football player of all time at age 44. 3 years older than LeBron in a 50 times more physical sport. He threw for 5,300 yards and 43 touchdowns. Tom Brady, greatest football player of all time. Just thought I'd drop that in there. I love to glaze Tom Brady anytime I can. I think he walks on water. So I just wanted to talk to all my live chatters that say Tom Brady's not the greatest even quarterback ever. Kiss my ass. That is proof in the pudding right there. So
no,
here we
listen,
go.
Pat, you're
42 years old. I'm
No.
42 and I can barely do 20 push-ups today at the gym.
No, Brady's the GOAT for sure. But let me back up to something you said. There was a conversation where somebody said LeBron was the best of all time.
You hear it a lot, and people do make good points. Like he's still playing at a high level at 41. It's incredible. And don't get me wrong, the NBA is difficult. I've sat courtside once, and it's unreal how physical the game really is when you're down there close. But it brings me back around. We've talked about Brady in the live chat. People were like, it's the best quarterback of all time. And then I'm like, well, we're talking about LeBron here, 41, longevity. And here's Tom Brady at 44. 44.
Yeah, but for the record, Jordan never took he didn't take back-to-backs off. Let's just clear that up real quick.
Yeah.
And they protect LeBron like he's a newborn baby. If you want to think LeBron James is the greatest of all time, get your ass out of here. Go somewhere else.
It's tough. They're two different basketball players, really. They really are.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's really hard it's in any sport, it's really hard to compare generations, right? We could all agree basketball in the 90s is a lot different now. The athletes now, I mean, this is just the athletes now are just way better than the athletes in the 90s, right? The training, everything is different, but also like from a difference perspective is owners have to protect and coaches have to protect their investments more now than ever, right? The amount of money that's involved in these athletes now is way different. In the 90s, if your fifth or sixth player got lost for the season, you weren't out that much money, right? Nowadays, in the NBA, if your fifth or sixth player gets hurt, you're out millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? And so I get it. I'm just blown away. I mean, I don't think that for me personally, I don't think LeBron's the best player ever. He's put together the longest. I mean, it's crazy that he's playing basketball at the level he is at the age he is, right? Like you go look statistically at there's only like 10 players over the age of 40 that have scored more than 20 points in a game, in a basketball game. Like that's crazy to think about, right? And he's out there I mean, he's just still out there competing at the highest level. And I'm with you, Pat, though. I hate Tom Brady because I hated the Patriots. But you can't, I mean, there's just really no argument that you can't say he's one of the greatest athletes ever. It doesn't even matter playing quarterback, one of
Yeah.
the greatest athletes of all time.
And when I think of LeBron, I compare him more to a guy like Magic Johnson. And I just think he's a more athletic, a little bit better Magic Johnson. That's the guy I think of when I think of LeBron. More similar that way. Jordan was a scorer first. LeBron is just as much of a rebounder passer as he is a scorer, So
Yep.
it's just one of those things.
So
Yeah, and he's a
Kennedy
freak.
says he tuned into the wrong show. I'll stop
Dude,
talking basketball, but I
the
got to
chat's
address one more
popping.
thing. Yeah, Smitty, shut your damn mouth. If you want to say one bad thing about the Dallas Mavericks and Dirk again, I'm also going to be like Buddy, and I'm going to find your ass in Nashville, Smitty, and we're going to have a little conversation about this. We're not
Oh,
going
so you're coming to Nashville?
Yeah,
Whatever gets you to
breaking
show
news.
up.
Breaking news.
I'm in, baby. We're going.
Yeah, Hubbard's in. Hey, also breaking news. We have a live sighting of Vegas in our chat. It gave us a notification. It was his first chat. Vegas is also in. He wrote me, I think yesterday, and told me he was in for the NDL convention in Nashville. Man, super exciting. We'll have Smitty, Vegas, and Jeremy there, all in the same room. Going to be the NDL arm wrestling fest.
Y'all ain't ready.
No, I'm not.
Man, exciting stuff. So NDL, we'll get over to the NDL talk here a little bit. We should be pushing out the NDL player awards, right? Those come out every season. You get a vote on those. Who do you guys have for the Heisman? I'll just start with you, Jeremy. If you were to pick the Heisman winner, who would be your Heisman winner in the NDL this season?
Well, real life fan, I'm going to go best player, best team. I got to go with Arch Manning, right? Arch has thrown for just shy of 3,500 yards. I think it's like 75% completions, 41 touchdowns. That's great, but I tell you what, only 6 interceptions is pretty impressive to me. I'm just gonna have to go with Arch here. I just think that when you look at the numbers, there's a lot of good, a lot of good statistical players this year, but for Arch to only have the 6 interceptions is pretty impressive with 41 touchdowns. Best team. That's how the award's usually given out, right? Best player, best team. I think that would be my vote right here.
Yeah. What about you, Pat?
I think they're look. The best player, best team. The award has evolved to that, which I don't like. The best player in the country is the running back over here at Georgia, Nate Frazier. I mean, just if you look at the numbers, we just talked about Texas. 17 carries for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns in his biggest game of the season. 350 against Kentucky. But this really stands out to me. This one, okay, this is wildly impressive. And you guys are going to be like, what are you talking about, Pat? 21 carries, okay, for 99 yards and 3 touchdowns against Auburn. Now you say to yourself, oh, that's okay. Except the fact that Auburn knew what play was coming every time. Mr. Stream Sniper himself. So that is wildly impressive that he was able to carry the ball 21 times for 100 yards against a defense that knew what play was coming. Okay, so you really got to keep that in mind. 34 touchdowns to just 1 fumble. Don't even know if the fumble was lost. And then check this out: 66 broken tackles and almost 600 yards after contact. The player of the year, the Heisman, is definitely Nate Frazier. 2,439 yards rushing, and 5 games over 200 yards rushing in the SEC. Incredible season. That's who I would vote for.
Yeah, tough to argue there. What about you, Penguin?
Well, I mean, I'll start with the preface of that. Those are both really strong candidates for sure. I can't disparage them at all. And I mean, my lead into mine, I thought I'd had a player that had a really good season in my tight end, Trades Green. Went over a grand, 13 touchdowns, 25 yards per reception. The dude was a playmaking beast. Then I looked around at the other tight ends and how they had their seasons. And there's a dude played down at Houston this year, Tanner. His last name I can't even begin to pronounce. That dude, this season, ripped off. Where are the stats here? 108 receptions, 1,500 yards receiving, 24 touchdowns. I'm like, dang, he had games with 13, 10, 14, 10, and 10 receptions in there. I'm just saying, for a player that's not an overpowered demigod, kind of like how, Arch and the aforementioned Georgia running back is. I mean, what a productive machine this dude was. Is he going to win? I'll say definitely he's not going to win. But man, he deserves some votes putting up numbers like that. That's an incredible season. And if this were real life numbers, the man would be getting a trip to to the ceremony to sit with the rest of the finalists.
You're mentioning tight ends, Penguin. This is, in all seriousness, there are a couple of broken tight ends in the game, right? Like the Michigan State
Hmm.
tight end. Like I think the
Yep.
Houston guy kind of fits in there too. I was telling you guys this one day, I think, or somebody. There's like a backup tight end at Eastern Michigan. When I was at Northern Illinois 2 seasons ago, whoever it was with Eastern Michigan, I don't remember who it was at the time, played their backup tight end. I was like, why is he doing this? Because he's just like a freak. Like it's just a cheat code almost. So, the kid at Houston's really good. That's a good. He would probably get an invite, right? If this was real life, you would think. But big
There's a
numbers for sure.
Jeremy. There's a broken tight end at Utah too. You'll see in the playoff. Marion County uses him. I used him last year. His name's Hunter Andrews. He's like a 68 overall. He's unbelievable. Like he's
Wow.
6'7". He's 88 speed or something, and his break tackle rate is super high. And he can block his ass off. It's yeah, and you can throw jump balls to him. He was my second leading receiver when I was at UT. There are some definite like sleeper tight ends out there for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, for me, I mean, you guys all brought up a great. I mean, this year, looking at statistics. Obviously, I was the one that put in all the player awards, and so I see some of those stats and stuff. Is that I think it'll be a fairly close race between different players. I mean, for me, it was Trinidad Chambliss, and the reason that I picked him was that I, I mean, obviously he's put together a great season, 47 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions, playing in the SEC. Pat brought that up already, right? Threw for almost 3,500 yards, but it wasn't just him, right? The offense was really balanced at Ole Miss. But man, you go and look at some of the tougher games that he played during the season. Georgia, right? That was the big one on the calendar. They ended up losing a close game at Georgia. He threw for 5 touchdowns, right? The really, really big game there against Georgia. He was 28 to 36, 5 touchdowns. He played Arkansas, right? DK's pretty good. Arkansas is pretty good. 7 of 7, 279 yards, 5 touchdowns, right? I mean, don't get much more efficient than that. Put together a great season against great opponents. There were some teams. We played South Carolina, he only threw the ball 12 times. Played Arkansas, only threw the ball 7 times. Played Kentucky, only threw the ball 11 times. Buffalo threw the ball 13 times. So you're talking about 4 games where he didn't throw the ball more than 15 times in those games and still put together 3,600 yards, 47 touchdowns. I mean, he's thrown 60 touchdowns if he plays 4 more competitive games where that quarterback gets to play the whole game. And so,
And with 2 suspensions, I mean,
yeah, he sat out.
crazy.
Yeah, right. And so for me, obviously, in real life, if if Trinidad was suspended because he did something wrong, obviously he wouldn't be my Heisman winner, but he didn't do anything wrong. And so for me, that was the one that really stood out. I mean, he threw 8 touchdowns against Wake Forest, who was an ACC championship game. So,
To be fair, they don't really play defense in the ACC.
I mean, to be fair, does anybody really play defense in this game compared to real life?
Some of us have a top 5. Some of us have a top 5 defense in here. I don't know about you, but whatever.
Yeah, definitely not me. I have a bottom 5 defense every year in the league. No, so it should be exciting. I'm not 100% sure exactly when Homie's going to be pushing out the player awards, but they're all ready to be pushed out. The All
It's out right
Americans.
now. It just came out.
There you go.
You just
There you
announced.
go. Jeremy just announcing breaking news all morning here on the NDL Game Day Show.
Mm.
So get your votes in. And then the All-American lists those are done. Those are calculated and done. Those will be put out once the awards are announced, which will probably be sometime early next week. And then just a quick plug in for Outliers. They'll be on today at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and they'll be releasing all the bowl games. That was super exciting for a majority of the league that don't get to see the CFP. The bowl games will get released on the Outliers this afternoon with Vic and Blue. And I'm not sure if Doc's going to be on the show. I don't really know who's going to be on the show this afternoon. Vic can probably let us know in the live chat, but that'll be super exciting. Big Saturday here in the NDL season 35. We are about set to do our CFP release. Hubbard, we going to do it the same way we did it last time?
Let's go 25 to what? What did we do last time? 25 down to 16 maybe? And then start at the top?
25. Okay, I'm going to write this down because my clicky butt will do it wrong. So you want to go 25 to 16 and then what, 16 to 14? And then 1 to 5 and then 6 to 13?
Sure. Yeah. You just tell me. We'll announce. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay. So you
Who's
just
going to be the maddest when this is all over? Who's
the,
going to be
the
the
one
maddest?
that gets left out.
Hmm.
So as you can see, we're
Okay.
using the new graphics here. Hubbard's going to take us into the CFP final reveal for season 35.
Yeah. All right. Let's start up. Let's go, guys. Who look? You made the list. You may not be in the playoff, but you made the list. That's impressive enough. The committee thought you were that would. Let's start at 25. Let's see where we're at with team number 25. Oh man, I cannot see that.
Here, Hubbard, give me a second. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, that was way too small. That's what she said.
I'll send you
Yeah. Send it over to me. Yeah, that'll work.
here. Actually, maybe I can make this screen bigger. Give me a second. Does that better for you?
Actually, it's worse.
Worse. Okay. So what if I go like that?
No, I still can't see it. It's not going to happen. Okay, I see now. UTSA number 25. All right, we got it.
Okay.
Big Mike and the AAC champion Roadrunners number 25. All right, let's go number 24 here. That's UMass, also the MAC champion. Okay, a big win over Central Michigan. They get in there. All right, next. We got Jacksonville State, which is kind of a shock, right? Penguin, Tim, they lost in that CUSA championship game to Western Kentucky, and they sneak in at number 23. Interesting. Okay, number 22, the LSU Tigers. Penguin and the Tigers, number 22. It's a shame that somebody bet on them to make the playoff in NDL Sharps. I was only 11 spots away. Number 21 in the CFB is Oklahoma State. Interesting. Listen, guys, they quietly had a really good year at 9-3. I know the Big 12 was real top heavy and maybe not real strong at the bottom, but Nazi to go 9-3, and he's got an interesting choice, right? Because if he stays at that team's gonna be a lot better next year. But we'll get there later. All right, number 20. Number 20, the Maryland Terrapins. This is a team that early on we thought might have a chance to win a couple games, get in. They finished number 20. All right, number 19 is the Yukon Huskies. And Dave, another great year. Listen, I've only been in this thing 3 seasons. He's had a great season every year. Number 19, maybe his highest CFP finish in the last 3 seasons for sure. Number 18 in the CFP is Pat and the Hoosiers. 18 for the Hoosiers.
Crazy. He's getting fired.
Yeah,
right?
Fired.
You're getting fired.
Feel like Ice Cube on my in Friday. How you gonna get fired on your day off?
Well, Indiana wins the CFP next season, hires Pat, and don't make the CFP, and they fire him.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, Pat, if you wouldn't have taken a couple of days off, you might be in the CFP. But anyway, number 17.
Wow! I think that's the truth.
number 17. Matter of fact, one of those days off was against Andy and Penn State. Penn State checking in at number 17. Oh man, the Nittany Lions at 17. Number 16 in the rankings would be Clemson. Clemson, Pirate, and the Tigers. Man, listen. Those are 3 really good rosters to not be in the playoff. Just saying, like that just kind of shows that, in all seriousness, shows how good the league was this year. That those 3 talented rosters are 5 or 6 spots out for sure. We're gonna go to 15 now, Tim. Let's go to number 15. Syracuse, the orange. And you can kind of see the committee. I mean, I don't know about you guys. You can kind of see here the committee values head to head over complete resume, right? Because you might could argue with one more loss that Clemson had the better resume, but they did lose to Syracuse. Indiana lost to Penn. Anyway, so we're kind of seeing some trends here. Did we say we're going to go to 14? Tim, is that what we said we're going to do?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, number 14 in the CFP. Maybe.
We are.
Okay, Stanford, who kind of takes a spot that didn't matter because he wasn't going to be in the playoff or the postseason either way. But Stanford in there at number 14. So we, as everybody expected, the battle for the last three spots is going to come down to the teams we thought it would. And you also see, guys, James Madison is in the top 13. So another interesting thing. Well, we assume it's James Madison. I would expect it to be.
Could be Central Michigan for all we know.
Well, Jacksonville State sitting there at the 23 spot, and unless I'm just completely wrong about this, they got beaten and they got beat kind of handily, right, in that CUSA championship game. All right, we're going to go to one now.
Well,
Wait, can we stop for a second?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
all right, what you got?
discuss this.
Yeah, I want to jump in here really quick. I've been telling folks, and I hate to say it, that the Big Ten is down this year, and this is the proof in the pudding. It's not even as good as the ACC this season. Like, look, you have Stanford ahead, Syracuse ahead, Clemson ahead of Indiana and Penn State. Now you're going to have Oregon and Ohio State in here. They didn't even play until the conference championship game, and you're obviously probably going to have a Miami in there. So the ACC this year, I think, is quietly getting slept on, and a stronger conference this year than the Big Ten, and also than the Big 12. It's the sixth best conference in our league this year, in my opinion. The ACC. That's the way I feel about it. I don't know.
I think it's the deepest conference. It's the deepest other than the SEC, right? The SEC is deepest. Then I think it's the ACC was the deepest, right?
Yeah.
We even had some good. We had some good users who aren't in this conversation, right? Like during the year, we talked about Chop at California, right? Who's a good user. That Chase, who's one of the better coaches, right? He had a terrible year at Virginia Tech. So pretty deep with coaches. Somebody in the chat, Smitty, saying the ACC might be deeper than the SEC. No, they didn't win games. The SEC won the games. They're the deepest, but the ACC is
Smitty.
deeper.
God, he just has the worst, shittiest takes.
But the ACC, listen, no, I agree. I think they're the second best conference. You say that we're going to have Ohio State and Oregon. We know Ohio State's going to be in the playoff field, but I think that we all in this room would agree that Oregon could find their way out of this thing, right? And they could be a one bid. Would it be a one bid league? No, there'd be.
It would. It would. It'd be a one bid league.
A one bid Big Ten. How crazy would that be if we got to that? All right.
Real quick. Real quick. We've been talking about. Sorry, Penguin. Real quick. Jackson State, right?
Jacksonville State.
Jackson State plays about 60 minutes away from here. So Jacksonville State, this one kind of baffles me, right? And the reason being is Jacksonville State has 2 losses, didn't win their conference. Okay. One of their losses is to a MAC team, right? It's not UMass. And so these 2 teams, I don't think should be ranked at all. Like it doesn't make sense, right? Neither team. UMass, I think, has 3 losses. Jacksonville State has 2 losses, one of them being to FIU, who's in the MAC and is not ranked, right? Both those losses come to non-ranked. So these things just don't make sense. And FIU is not in the MAC. I apologize, right? FIU is in Conference USA. So they finished 8-4. Sorry, Chip. So FIU finishes 8-4. That's one of their losses. Like these things don't make sense to me, right? There's got to be better 3 or 4 loss teams in the SEC to have better resumes than these teams. It doesn't really matter. Like you don't get any bonus points or anything like that. But when we're just talking about a holistic review of the CFP rankings, it doesn't make any sense to have these mid-major teams in here that didn't even win their he didn't even win his conference championship game. And then seeing UTS being the 25th, that just doesn't make much sense to me either. I mean,
I gotta say, people saying that these don't matter. Well, okay, then why were they done at all? I mean, why did we go this far? So we just throw darts with our eyes closed for these here? I mean, I can definitely accept UMass and UTSA getting in there for one of their conferences as, a nod of respect to them. But I can't wrap my mind around how you throw Jacksonville State and frankly LSU in there and chuck Central Michigan all the way down out of the rankings completely. It's hard to understand.
I mean,
Well, and here's why it matters, because you kind of see what the committee's thinking is, and
Mhm.
honestly, that should be. I mean, every committee's hard. I was on one that put a 4-loss team in, right? But he also won 2 games, so bite me. But the
To argue against myself, why is LSU in there and not like Alabama or Texas A&M, a couple of teams with the same record that both beat us? I mean, not that I don't want to be ranked, but I mean, do I deserve to be in there? I don't think so.
so in
well,
comparison, and I probably shouldn't have said they don't matter, because they do to us, and they should to the committee, because at the end of the day, like we talk about Pat, right? Pat, Indiana sitting there at 18. Does that Indiana 18th ranking help people in their conference? Of course it does. It helps Oregon. Oregon's resume says, "Hey, we beat the 18th team in the CFP." And so, um, would it help to have an SEC team sitting at 25? Of course it would, because then when you're comparing resumes, you're going to say, "Hey, I got to win over the 25th team in the CFP." And so let's just compare teams right now. Vandy sitting at 8-4. Okay. Vandy's losses are to LSU, Missouri, Texas, and Tennessee. Okay. Now let's compare UTSA sitting at 9-4. Their losses are to Southern Miss, Western Kentucky, Texas State, South Florida. Whose resume is better? They don't have a single ranked win at all. They didn't play a single ranked opponent at the end of the season, right? And so just those types of things, and I'm sure we could find even better resume. You look at a team like Alabama,
It's
right?
possible.
Alabama has a better resume than them, sitting at 8-4. And I'm just pulling the SEC teams. I'm sure there's a couple other teams that we could pull even from a different conference that would make more sense. Like, I don't see Wake on here. Wake played in the ACC championship game. Wake resume, I bet, is better than the last 3. I bet their resume is better than the last 3 that are sitting there.
Well, they went undefeated in what we just said was the second best conference in the league, right? I mean,
Correct.
there are 10 teams that would give the belt to some of these teams on this list right now that aren't in here, right? I mean, just whatever. I mean, listen, I get it, right? Like, it doesn't really have any kind of an impact on what happens next. I just think I mean, the resume building point, you're right, number one, and it does give you an insight to what they think. And Pat's right, like they think the Big Ten is better than maybe we think it is, right? Like you're putting some teams in there, you're taking some SEC teams out. If I'm Missouri and Tennessee right now, I'm freaking out a little bit that teams like Vanderbilt and Alabama aren't on that list, even though
That's not
they
good.
maybe should be. Yeah,
Yep.
It's
it's not a good
definitely
thing.
not good.
Okay, let's go start at the top. Let's get there because everybody's having a damn conniption fit because we're not at 1 yet. We already know who 1 and 2 are. I don't know why we're worried about it. But here we go. Let's go number 1, Tim. Number 1, the
Well,
Longhorns.
think about who's in the chat today. Like, you got a bunch of whiny girls in there, so it is what it is.
Well, I'm
That's
not
getting
going to
them
go that
riled
far.
up. You did say you're going to
Yeah,
fire them up this morning.
yeah.
Don't give me
Texas.
a break.
I mean, before we go any further, this could be the last game day, or is the last game day of the year, right?
I think we're going to have
Mm-hmm.
one more. We
Yeah.
talked about doing a
Okay.
end of the season bang one.
I was going to say we got to give them 2 more months of take that, guys. All right, here we go. Texas number 1. Texas number 1. Number 2. I wonder who it is. I bet it's the Buckeyes. Yeah, there we go.
Well,
Texas
hey,
and
there's a
Ohio.
change. That's a
Yep.
change.
Yep.
A good
Finally,
change. Good
They gave in
change.
to peer pressure.
and it makes a
No,
huge difference,
be
right?
nice.
If they
Uh-huh.
get into the finals, those two together, the game's in Austin now, not Columbus, and that'll make a huge difference, right, for
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those things. All right, here we go. Number 3, the Utah Utes. The value of winning the
Interesting.
Big 12 bumps them on up there. The Utah Utes, number 3. Number 4. All right, the Georgia Bulldogs. All right, what do you guys think about? I mean, the top 2, we're glad to see the switch. We've all kind of thought Texas should be number 1. Utah and Georgia. Georgia drops a spot, right? They were number 3, I think, last week. Is the value of winning the Big 12 more than just being Georgia and who they were? Pat, what do you think about that change?
Utah's schedule outside of a few of the tough games they played is not strong. There's going to be talk later in this episode about how weak the Big 12 is as a whole, and I get it. I will give credit, though, to every Big 12 team that I think is going to make the playoff, which is going to be three. All of them did not slip up to a team that they should not have lost to, if that makes sense. Missouri, you have in this thing, lost Arkansas. Oregon, lost to USC. Okay.
Yep.
The Big 12, yeah, it was down, but it's not like BYU, Utah, or Kansas has one of these losses to an outlier, to a 5-7 team, to a 7-5 team. They all won the games they were supposed to win. Utah lost to BYU, Kansas lost to Utah, and BYU only lost to Utah. So in the conference championship, so they all, at least those dogs, took care of business. I would have put Utah at 4. That's semantics, right? But yeah, I think that like there's nothing to be up in arms about with him being at 3, in my opinion, because he won the games he was supposed to win, and he was
That's a great point.
impressive. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anybody?
I think it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Is there anybody you thought maybe could have been in that top 4? Anybody else that could have
Yeah.
gotten a bye?
Old Miss.
Ole Miss, yeah.
Old Miss. To me, I think I know Old Miss and Georgia played each other. We've already talked about that, and I know Georgia won. Okay, yeah, it was at Georgia, but Georgia also has 2 losses in the SEC. Old Miss has 1. Okay, I know they didn't play all the same opponents, but I probably would have saw Old Miss in the top 4, and I would probably have saw Utah at 4, and then Georgia at 5. That's how I would have saw it. But you can't. I mean, you can make. There's no complaints here. They got the Texas Ohio State thing right. It just looks funny this week because it should have been Texas ahead before. So now Ohio State goes out and wins by 33 or whatever it was. It goes out and 30s them, and then they drop a spot, so it looks funny. But the whole season, it should have been this, and I think they got it right. So I mean, I can't complain about the top 4 at all.
I just think it does show that they devalue the SEC a little bit. I'm just telling you, if I'm Missouri and Tennessee, I'm freaking out right now. The way they dropped them out of the bottom and moving Georgia down, I just think that's a red flag.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, as y'all mentioned, Utah didn't lose a game they should. And sure, it's not a bad loss, but Georgia should not have lost to Alabama in hindsight. So, I mean,
We'll see.
I think
It's going to be
it.
interesting.
They nailed this.
Okay, number 5. Let's see who we got here.
Getting there.
BYU, Big 12 love.
Love it.
Listen, I think BYU there is a good spot for them. Okay, number 6. The Kansas Jayhawks. Pat has said the Big 12 is the second best conference, and looking right now like it might be the
No.
best conference.
Well,
Well, you said the ACC.
Yeah,
But the top of the Big 12, I got you. You're right. But the top of the Big 12 is as good as anybody else's, right? I mean, it's those 3 teams that are pretty good. Okay, number 7, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish NRB. Interesting because I think there was some thought maybe they could have some teams jump them here, but it's not the case. Number 8. Let's get to number 8, and then we'll take a pause here. And there's the Ole Miss Rebels. Okay.
Interesting.
So the Ole Miss Rebels, number 8, they're going to get a home playoff game. Okay. They're going to get a home playoff game. All right. So thoughts on 5 through 8, because basically we know there's 5 teams left here. Those 5 teams are, we know James Madison's going to be in this group. We know Miami's in this group. Missouri, Tennessee, Oregon. Those are the 5 that we think are left, right? I'll ask you thoughts on 5 through 8 right here, and then we're going to get in that danger spot of how do we think 9 through 13 goes. Penguin, I'll let you go first.
I think Ole Miss shouldn't be lower than 6, but I guess it's not terribly a big deal. And you could even make a case for them as high as 5. But I don't think the BYU being in at 5 is really anything to complain about too much. I think if you're comparing the teams and the trip ups they did have here, I think Notre Dame shouldn't be any higher than 8 when comparing these. But I mean, it's at least the right teams are at least going to get the initial home games. I'll say that. So at least so there's that. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss should just hop up in front of BYU and Kansas, and then everyone just gets shoved back one. Honestly, that's all the only thing I have. I mean, Ole Miss is 11-1. I don't understand. BYU is 10-2 or 11-2. Excuse me. Kansas is 11-1, but I think Ole Miss's resume is clearly stronger. So I would have them leapfrog. I don't know, and we've got committee members on, so we can. I just don't know what's with Ole Miss hate to drop an 11-1 SEC team with their one loss being to a team that's ranked number 4 overall. A little strange.
In a close game too.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened there. I would love to ask, and he has one of the hardest schedules in the league according to the Massey rating. And I'm looking at the Massey rating right now. He is 6 overall. He is ahead of Utah, ahead of BYU, and Notre Dame is all the way down at 24. So, yeah, I think Notre Dame belongs to host a game, but I just would put Ole Miss ahead of everyone and just kind of shut up everybody back once.
And I think where it matters is if you start looking at potential second round matchups, right? Jumper for going 11-1 has to go to Austin and take on Jiggy in the second round if he wins.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Like that matters. So that's I don't know, man. Like the more I think about it, like Ole Miss should. I don't think Ole Miss. I don't know. Yeah, to me they should be 5. I'm with you guys. Like
Yeah.
I think they're the 5th best team. I will be curious, like for Utah to be ahead of them. Okay, they won the conference, right? But I will be curious to know why BYU and Kansas jumped them when their only loss is somebody in the chat mentioned at Georgia by a touchdown,
They have
and one of the best offensive players in the game.
they have the best in the best loss because at some point you got to compare resumes, right? They all have wins. Is that their loss is at Georgia by 7? Utah, I mean, I know Utah's at 3, but Utah had a bad loss against BYU. Like the game wasn't close. And I know they came back and won in the conference championship game, and that's Kansas's only loss, right? But man, to put Ole Miss all the way back here, like let's just compare Notre Dame and Ole Miss for a second, right? Notre Dame's loss is a big one to Miami at the beginning of the season, right? Ole Miss's loss is at Georgia by 7. Like, and so to me, I just like you talked about, man, is the SEC's got to worry here, right? Is clearly they're not valuing the conference as a whole, and then the strength of schedule is kind of baffling to me, and then putting all this weight on the Big 12 conference, who by far is the worst overall conference. Sorry to say that and hurt some feelings, but I mean, what we talked about, 4 teams over 500 in the whole conference. It just kind of blows my mind here.
I do. You obviously, someone said it. You do kind of look at second round matchups, and you see some interesting ones. Obviously, BYU being 5th, that's a huge thing to be 5th. I've always said being 5th, especially in the real CFP, is quite the advantage. Obviously, we don't do neutral sites, but I mean, he gets to play probably James Madison is my guess, and then would match up with Georgia. But you're going to get a possible Utah Kansas rematch, and then a cup game rematch between Ohio State and Notre Dame. So we'll see. How locked in maybe Ohio State is for an actual playoff game versus a cup game. I hope that everyone stays locked in. I try to win every game. I think most people do, but we'll see. And I'm kind of interested to see who Ole Miss gets locked up with here in round 1, and Kansas and Notre Dame, because you might have a Miami Notre Dame rematch. Maybe, I don't know. We have not seen these, by the way. So
yeah, I hope so.
That would be interesting. That would be very interesting.
Here's what I'll say. I just hope the haters from last year's committee had the same energy here in a couple of minutes when they get to the live chat about this one.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
This one as a whole doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, and they may explain it to us and we'll be like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like maybe we're not thinking of something, but it's all right. So let's go to number 9. I before we get there, Tim, do we all think it's Miami at 9? Like, is that what we're thinking?
It's got to be. Right?
I'm gonna say it should be Missouri, but it won't be.
Well, you're right. And now, actually, before we get there, we actually had a talk amongst ourselves this week. Miami's resume probably says 9, but because they lost to Missouri, Missouri should probably be ahead of them at 9. So
100%.
I actually will change my opinion. I think it should be Missouri at 9. If it's not Missouri, it's got to be Miami. That would be my guess. But we're kind of seeing some funky stuff. Tim, go ahead and show us number 9 here.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be Missouri with how the other rankings have been. But, I mean, there you go.
All right. So, I mean, the SEC hate is obviously real, guys. It's real. Uh, and so, but listen, Miami at Ole Miss, that's a juicy one. That's a juicy game in the first round. And it does avoid that Miami Notre Dame matchup for sure.
Mhm.
So really, the three at large teams left are Oregon, Tennessee, Missouri.
Which we figured,
I don't even know.
right?
Yeah, but I don't know what to expect anymore. Honestly, it's and how high does James Madison go? Right? Are they going to? I mean, hell, at this point, would it be a surprise to you if James Madison was number 10 at this point? Right?
Why do we keep assuming it's James Madison and not Central Michigan again?
That's fair.
I'm
All
giving
right.
them credit. It's going to be JMU. I'm giving them credit here. It's got to be, but not
Okay.
not at 10. Not at 10. Not at 10.
Okay. So number 10's next is Missouri.
This don't make like
Not
I mean
expecting that.
how
I'm happy about it.
So for
Yeah.
matchup wise, so from a college football fan, matchup wise, that's how it looks like they rank these teams. Was hey, what matchups are we going to get? Let's make sure we don't double up the matchups in the first round. Right? From a fan, that's amazing. Right? If a fan of none of these teams, that's amazing because I get good football that I haven't seen all season, right? But from a ranking standpoint, I can't wait to hear an explanation on how you take a 2-loss team compared to what a 3-loss team, and the 2-loss team beat the 3-loss team, and you still rank the 2-loss team behind them.
Yeah. Hey, but we're forgetting the most important part here, guys. If I'm correct here, we're going to get a Big Red stream against Notre Dame. There's going to be so much just anger going on between the two. We're going to have a sick fire playlist going there. I can't wait to see that one. You may have RB in the DoubleTree Hilton playing against Big Red and noise complaint neighbors. It's going to be quite the battle. I didn't even think of that matchup happening, and that's going to be a great one.
You'll have one talking on the stream and one typing in the chat.
Yeah, and hey, I know a few of my colleagues. I know a few of my colleagues here, which I don't agree with, said if Notre Dame played in the SEC, they'd have 4 or 5 losses. I severely disagree with some of you on that, but we're going to find out right straight away. Okay. Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure we'll make our picks here in a minute, but yeah. All right. So
hey, and just for the record, hey, one more thing, real quick. Missouri played Miami and beat them by 3, right? Because somebody wrote me, someone mentioned that what did they play during the regular season? They did. They played week 5. It was at Missouri, and they beat Miami by 3, and they're ranked behind Miami with 1 less loss. So,
yeah, it's an interesting one, but at least they're in. I would have thought it was a tragedy if Mizzou's not in. If you looked at the 3 resumes of Tennessee, Missouri, and Oregon, Missouri was better in everything except for that margin of victory over common opponents with Tennessee, which who gives a shit?
Yeah, because they don't play Purdue and Northwestern. No offense. So here's the thing. You talk about resumes before we get to 11 and 12 and 13 because we know James Madison's in. So the conversation is going to be Oregon and Tennessee, right? Like that's the conversation now. We know when you look at the resumes, guys. I gave you some numbers a couple of days ago, and you mentioned all these metrics. I'm gonna go back to them if I can find them quickly because quite honestly, there's not a single metric that matters that puts Oregon in over Tennessee because Missouri and Tennessee both led all these other metrics, and I'm trying to scroll back and find it. Here we go. Strength of schedule, right? Missouri 5, Tennessee 7, Oregon 36. Ranked wins: Tennessee 5, Missouri 4, Oregon 2. Quad 1 wins: Missouri 5, Tennessee 3, Oregon 2. Expand that to quad 1 and 2 wins. Missouri and Tennessee have 8 apiece. Oregon has 4. Tennessee has the 15th ranked offense, the 8th rated defense. Missouri 6th in offense, 21st in defense. Oregon is 30th and 13th. I don't even know what the conversation is going to be here, honestly, how this is not Tennessee over Oregon, guys. And I think we're all in agreement that Tennessee should be the 11th and the final at-large team in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just based on resumes and stuff like that. It's close. Like, it's not a it's not a like a for sure thing, right? Like it's close, but I think we all agree on that. So
And Oregon's lost their last two in a row, and I think sometimes you need to take that kind of stuff in. They are sliding into the playoff, whereas Tennessee is trending upward, and I think that needs to be looked at. Obviously, didn't win the conference championship game, but Tennessee finished the year strong, whereas Oregon lost at home to SC and then went to Ohio State and lost. I think it was like 27 or something like that. But it was not competitive in the second game.
Okay, let's see it. Who's number 11? Oh my God!
there you go.
Get the hell out of here!
There you go.
Uh,
It'll be interesting to see what the. I mean, obviously it led up to this, right, Hubbard? You talked about it throughout, starting at 25, going up. Is that the committee, for whatever reason, just didn't value the SEC as much as many of us in the media do, right?
Good God!
And so, obviously, interesting. It'll be interesting to find out what was going on and what some of that thought process was. It had to have been between those three teams, though, right? And I'm just going to show 12 and 13 because we already know JMU has got to be slotted in there at, yeah, there you go, 13. So Tennessee first team out.
Jeez.
and you know who has Smitty's number is old Shell. Shell has a very good record against Smitty. It's like the one team he would want to see right now. Oh man! And by the way, Smitty and Shell best of friends. Can't wait to watch that game.
And so I'll pop up the bracket here in the window here. So go ahead and you go over the just the matchups and stuff and get the take on what it looks like. It does look like my first take is it does look like, and I don't know this for a fact or anything like this, is just my take, is that the committee had to have looked at matchups when they were ranking the teams, right? I mean that's the only explanation I have right now.
You
Is you
know,
don't have
it's
duplicate.
interesting. That 6 and 11 spot is a good place to be, by the way, because you've got Kansas and Oregon playing, and then I think Utah of the four teams that have the bye is the weakest, so they would get Utah in the second round. So you got to be pretty stoked if you're Shell or Smitty, in my opinion. Oregon, much better team in the game than Kansas, much better, like night and day difference. And then might have a chance to travel to Utah. And I believe they played in they played in the Cup game last year when he was Bama and Oregon beat him at Bama. So, I mean, going to be interesting.
Man, the BYU Duke, the JMU game, right? This could be the year where we see a G5. I mean, that's a great matchup for them, right? If any of those teams on that board, if JMU was if we were to say, hey, who do they maybe have the best chance to compete against? Like my pick would probably be BYU, only because of his track record. He's played everybody
Yeah.
close, even the teams out of conference he played them all close. And so, I mean, if you're JMU, you don't want to go to Notre Dame, right? You don't want to go play Smitty in Kansas. You don't want to go to Ole Miss. But that's a big matchup. I'm excited. You kind of look at those matchups, and home field really isn't like going to be a prominent factor in any of those games. You know, like if Kansas went to Autzen Stadium, that's a completely different environment.
Wild speed advantage in that game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just first look, and again, I know Tim, I'm a POS for not getting the computer going so I can see the chat because I'm sure there's a certain someone
Oh
who's
man.
losing their shit in there. The only two things, and we'll talk to committee members, and I'm going to be nice just because I know how difficult it is. I think Ole Miss rating is a little bit off. Obviously, we talked about that, and then I look. I don't understand how Tennessee. We just read the two resumes off. You know, I just don't understand. Especially with the trending. Like I said, if Oregon had like finished, the year and was looking good, or that conference championship game was tight, but it wasn't. But watch, I told you guys this in the game day chat. I go, Oregon will make it, and then watch them go to the semis or the finals with a big middle finger to the rest of you. because he will get a nice matchup, and he does have a nice matchup. He is playing the second. James Madison might be overall ranked in our video game better than Kansas. Like that's how piss poor Kansas' team is in the game. Yeah. So I mean, Oregon not only shouldn't be in this thing, but they just got the best draw in the first round. So is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think, Hubbard?
I'm going to let them explain themselves before I tell them what I think. Here's the thing. Not a single metric. We just gave you the numbers. Not a single metric. Not a single metric. And so maybe there's something we're missing, guys. Like maybe so. I already see Vic in the chat saying Tennessee didn't have a big win. Well, guess
He
what
is right.
championship? Well, but guess what championship game he was in?
Yeah.
Right? Like, take away that loss. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's the last time we saw Oregon, or well, the last two times I saw Oregon, it didn't look good, right? I mean, it just didn't. And so, I don't know. I don't understand it. It was very obvious that the SEC was not thought of as highly as most people, right?
I will say. Well, go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
Well, I mean, Vic in the chat saying Oregon and Tennessee were not the same team. They are not the same team. We just gave you the numbers. They are not the same. They are not the same team in any stretch of the imagination. Look at the numbers, and so we'll see. I mean,
hey, I'm going to defend Oregon here for just one, okay? Because we're going off of Q1 and Q2 stuff, right? Which are, it's been discussed in the live chat that the Q1 and Q2 stuff can be a touch misleading because it's a Q1 win if you're on the road versus if you're at home. And I will say this, Vic is correct, okay? Oregon has wins over two teams in that CFP ranking, okay? Tennessee has 0, I believe, against teams in the CFP ranking in their top 25. So you do have to take that into consideration.
but let's also think about who. All right, but did they beat Alabama?
Oh, who, Tennessee?
Yeah.
Yes, Tennessee. Yeah, absolutely beat Alabama, who's unranked in the CFP ranking.
Okay, but let's go back to the end. Let's go back to the back end of those CFP 25 rankings right here. We got Jacksonville State, who loses their loses the CUSA championship game. They're taking a spot from somebody like Alabama.
Yeah. I think Bama should be ranked. I'm with you on that, but they are not.
So that goes back to that's why we're arguing about 21 to 25 because those things matter.
You're right.
Those things matter. Yeah. Alabama would beat the hell out of Jacksonville State if they played today.
Yeah.
Right? And probably UMass, no offense, but they just would.
Yeah.
And so those things matter when you come down to that. Like I said, listen, I was on the committee. It's hard. It's tough. I get it. Like we had to argue for nights and nights and nights about putting 4-loss Arkansas in last year. I completely get that. But that was over something that I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
they do have one common opponent: Tennessee and Oregon. Tennessee won by 1, Oregon won by 3.
Yeah.
I don't know if that came into.
To quote our man Drew Baca, game theory matters a lot. I'll stand on that hill with Drew Baca. Game theory matters a lot when you talk about point differential and that stuff.
You bring up UMass. I just wouldn't want to take a look at their record, right? UMass lost to Bowling Green at the end of the season, 52-76, and Bowling Green is a 5-win team. Just to put that in perspective. And
it was very clear it was past their bedtime during 20-25.
He'll be able to explain the process. We'll have Tiger's going to come on, explain the new process that the committee it took over this season, which was a new process, and so I'm sure that there were some bumps along the road, right? And he'll kind of be able to explain that. So we'll bring him here on the show. I'm sure we have lots of questions for him. I'm sure the chat has lots of questions for him. Tiger, man, how you doing today? Are you on mute?
Just waiting.
Yeah, patiently.
Sorry, Tiger.
Patiently waiting here. So Tiger, well, before we get into the committee talk and stuff, just kind of let us know, man. Obviously, you've been in the league a long time. Just kind of give us a rundown of your league, how you got in the league, and when you started.
Started season 5, I think. Took a couple seasons off here and there. but for the most part, from season 5 on, I've been here. Um, yeah. So season went okay, not great. I probably should have been in the conference championship game if I won a couple games that I lost by 3. So
What made you
You're-
take
you-
Texas State?
speed,
Okay.
offensive speed.
Yeah, it's not fair because he took Texas State about, I don't know, 3 or 4 picks before I was set to take them and ended up with Temple. It worked out okay, I guess. But
Yeah.
no, anyway, Tiger, we've played a whole bunch, man, and I've enjoyed playing you and talking. We've talked a few times during our games, and man, Texas State, you've done well with them. So talk about obviously who your real life team is and kind of how that came about. I know you live there in Alabama. Talk about your love for the Tigers.
I was born there, so I mean, my parents were in school when I was born at in Auburn. So it's a lifelong,
Yeah,
literally from the moment I came out of the womb.
didn't have a choice. Didn't have a
Yeah.
choice.
I mean, if they were in school at the time, technically even before you came out of the womb, you were a Tiger.
Yeah, true.
Tiger, I have a question for you. I believe you came back not for our first season back, correct? You didn't come back in season 29.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Yeah. So
I
what
didn't know
happened?
how Discord worked at that time.
Okay, well there you go.
And
Because
so I think Niddler had messaged me, and I just never responded because I never got on Discord. Like I was expecting like an email or something, and like nobody ever talked to me, and I was just like, man, what is? All right, I guess we're not doing this. And then after
Yeah.
that first season, like I went to the website just to see what was going on, like if we were even doing this, and I was like, man, nobody ever talked to me. So then I got on Discord and saw messages from Niddler, and I was like, shit, I missed the whole season. I could have been in this thing the whole time.
Now, does
It
it
kind of
break
set me
your?
back, draft wise and everything.
Yeah. And I believe we played in your first season back in the OCC. You were at Ohio, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So does it break your heart as an Auburn fan to see how the team has been treated the last 2 seasons? You had Weasel, who is, he was good for a short time and not a long time, but a great time. And then you have the stream sniper himself. So how do you feel about the way the Auburn Tigers have been ran the last few seasons? How does that make you feel when you see that?
Not happy. I don't think any of us are, Chase. Any of us Auburn fans are very happy about the way that it's been going with them.
Yeah. Okay.
'Cause you've
I was
had,
just curious if that breaks your heart at all when you have to see stuff like that happen.
well, when Weasel got them, I think he was 2 picks ahead of me.
Oh,
When there was
man.
like 10, when there was 10 picks to me, and they were still there. Like I was messaging people, like, "Hey, are you gonna take them?" Just so and he was the only one that didn't respond to a DM, and then he took them. Everybody
Have
else
some
was like, "No, we're not. We're gonna let them fall to you." And so,
have some feel, Weasel. Have some feel. He did not, actually. That's his problem. Um, anyway, all right. Screw all this happy talk, Tiger. What the hell happened, man? Explain this to us. That's my question. What the hell happened?
so do y'all want to know like the process, or
I don't give
we
a
just
shit
want
about
to
the
go
process.
straight
Well, hey,
into?
hold
do
on.
what
Hold on.
No,
makes
we
you
do.
happy,
Hold
Tiger,
on.
and don't these guys
Just hold
fucking
on.
bully you, okay?
Hold on. Hold on. Before you talk, Tiger, I think 6 foot is in here, so he can explain the process if you want.
Okay, yeah, let him do that.
6 foot, you in here?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me though.
Yep, we can.
All right. So I'll take the time to explain the process because we changed it up a lot this year actually. So in the past, what we would do, and Hubbard and Pat know this process because they've been a part of it.
Someone,
Basically, we would start at number one. We put a poll up of prospective teams that we thought would somewhat be able to talk about who would be like in that spot, and then we would all vote on it. And I would force pretty much the whole group. Like if there was 11 people, I'd force like 8 of them to to all agree on number one, and then we'd go down to number two, and then we do number two. Usually the top like three or four are pretty easy. So once we start getting down to five and stuff like that, it would get a little tougher. Um, but this season, I wanted to do things a little different, and I wanted to actually mimic more so on how the actual CFP is ran uh, in real life. And so the new process is that when we all get together, everyone puts together 30 teams that they believe should be considered for the top 25. So everyone selects 30 teams. They submit their votes. They submit their votes, and from all their votes, the top 35 is put into a pool. Then for that top 35, we start from the top three, and we go, okay, without anyone talking to each other, we would like select four teams that y'all believe should be considered for the top three spots. Okay, so everyone selects four teams, and then based on their votes, we get a pool of four teams. When those four teams pop up, we only consider those four teams for the top three spots. Everyone talks about out of those four teams, which team is best, one through three, or one through four. The team that gets left out gets dropped into the next pool, and then we also, without talking, we all select three more teams to join that team for spots 3, 4, 5, right? And then we organize those teams. We only consider those teams, not the teams in front, not teams still to come. We only look at those teams and say, okay, out of these four teams, which team's the best, which team's next, which team's next after that. Then once we decide that, the top three teams go in next. The team left out goes into the next pool. We select three more, and we just keep going on with that process. And based on that process, we don't consider who came in front of them, who's behind them. We're only judging those four teams against each other. And so uh, the criteria on who's better or who's not will change depending on the group because we're no longer comparing the teams that came before them or the teams that are still to come. We're only comparing those four teams against each other. And so when you see maybe some inconsistencies on, how we're deciding teams or maybe how, you think the metrics should work for this or metrics should work for that, they may apply at times, but they may not apply at certain times because we're only comparing four teams at a time and we're only comparing those four teams against each other. We're not comparing anything else. We're not comparing, well, Ohio State's two or Utah's three, once we're down at like 5, 6, 7, or 8 and so forth. So it's a little bit of a different process. It can be a little confusing when you're looking at it as a whole, but when you're doing it, it makes a little bit more sense. And I see just stunned faces right now on y'all.
It's
Well,
processing the
I'll
information.
jump in. Yeah, I'll jump in and say I definitely appreciate that there's an explanation for the process to understand, how that is broken down. But I gotta say, how do I put this? The fact that we find ourselves in a spot where we're basically being told that different things are being used to measure different teams, I think just gives me a big old problem with the whole process there because you're saying different things matter for different teams, and that I have a hard time swallowing that. I
Because
guess
you're only comparing the four teams in that group
I
against each.
I get that. That's why where I yeah I don't yeah
Well, I
I don't
mean,
like that at
hey,
all. Personally. Yeah,
well, then you go and talk to the real CFP because that's how they do it.
So I
I'm
think they
not
do
saying I agree with
6
how they do
teams,
it either,
don't they?
and
They do
they have
6 teams.
screwed it up multiple times as well.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to argue with anyone here. I'm going to stand behind my committee's decisions. I may not always agree with their decisions, but and Hubert and Pat know that. I have certain opinions about how the things go, but it's my job to stay out of it. I let guys vote on how they want to vote. As long as they all come to a consensus of alignment, and agree, then that's how they go. But uh, I stand by this process. It mimics the real CFP, and that's kind of the uh, the point of this league is to mimic
Yep.
what the real life is. And you know, when you're comparing just those 4 teams, and you're not considering the teams before it and the teams after it, sometimes you're going to get things that may look funny. And one thing that I'm going to say this right now because this is my opinion right here, and even though I don't get to vote, but we're always talking about quad ones, quad two, quad three.
Right.
We're always talking about Massey this, strength of schedule, Massey that. I always hear everyone saying, well, the Massey says this, the Massey says that. But when we had the Massey decide who the CFP was, everyone complained. Is that
Mm-hmm.
not true? Yet
Very
everyone
true.
wants to use the Massey as their metric to put teams where they want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't have it both ways. You can't have it Massey this, quad one this, quad two that. Oh, look at the strength of schedule here, look at the strength of schedule there, and then cry about season 32 or whatever it was. Oh, the Massey got it wrong. Y'all got to
Yeah.
decide. If you
And
want to use Massey as your be all, then we can let Massey seed your CFP for you.
and now this got brought up last season 6 when they were comparing that last final like spot when they let in Arkansas over other teams. We unfortunately, as you know, like I'm not a math major by any stretch, so we are forced to use the data that is offered to us. So that's why I think when people see, hey, Q1, Q2 win, we're just going off of what our website says. That's not someone that came up with it in the league. So I actually understand what you're saying because when we did use the Massey rating, I think like three G5 teams got in or something like that. I think that you guys did a great job. I don't like when we punish a team that goes into the conference championship game and then loses. However, then you have Mizzou who didn't play a game at all jump over. But were they put in that pool? Like, I do want to know how they went up, I think, 3 or 4 spots without playing a game. Can someone answer me that? Which I believe they belong in. So I'm in
So
agreement with you guys, but I'm curious of that.
so Missouri, Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe I'm not sure if
Miami.
it was JMU. No, it wasn't Miami.
It was JMU.
JMU was all in the
Okay.
same pool.
Okay.
Miami was in the pool before,
Gotcha.
uh, and they literally argued about those 3 teams:
Mm-hmm.
Missouri, Tennessee, and Oregon, for 45 minutes to an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Just on those 3 teams, they spent 45 minutes to an hour on those. That was the majority of our meeting.
Yeah, it was the more than
Was
half the
those
meeting
3 teams.
was.
And to
Yeah.
be honest, they started off with Tennessee as that in that group as the number 1 team,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And then some had Missouri, some had Oregon. Was dead split between those 2 teams for the second spot in that group. And they argued back and forth. Some said Missouri, some said the loss to USC was just so big that they could not put Oregon above Missouri. Uh, and then other people were like, "Hey, man, Arkansas loss is just as bad as the USC loss. In fact, it could potentially be worse because they're 6-6, and
Mm-hmm.
USC actually finished 7-5. So they were like, even if you don't consider it's worse, it's about the same. One isn't that much better than the other or that much worse than the other. So finally I was like, they were basically yelling over each other because it was getting kind of heated. And I put up a poll, and I was like, okay, Missouri or Tennessee, and it came out dead even, and no one could decide. And someone was like, well, why are we putting Tennessee over Missouri? Because someone came up with because everyone kept saying, well, look at the loss. Who was the worst loss? Who was the worst loss? And then someone said, well, who's the best win?
Right.
And then they were like, well, Missouri has the best win over Miami easily out of all 3 of those teams.
Yep.
So instead of saying who they lost to, they said, well, who did these teams beat? So then they decided, well, Missouri has the best win. So we're gonna put them 1. So then it came down to Tennessee and
Oregon.
Oregon, and it was basically like, okay, well, who has the best win of these 2 teams?
Right. And Oregon.
And Oregon did.
Mhm.
I mean, that to the committee, the resume in terms of their schedule looked somewhat similar, because while Tennessee like played a lot of good teams, they also lost to all those good teams, and they beat a couple, but Oregon beat a couple more. So the committee said Oregon by a hair, and that's how Oregon got in over Tennessee. And we spent about 45 minutes to an hour on that process.
Yeah, and I didn't know the real CFP evaluated just 4 teams at a time like that. That's really cool insight. I didn't realize that. And I'll disagree with Penguin. I think the last 2 years, the CFP, minus the rankings that they did the first year with Boise getting a bye, what a joke that was. But I think they've gotten the right teams in the last 2 years. I mean, hell, wasn't Miami the last team in last year? And they went to the damn final. So they obviously know what they're doing.
So they
You know,
6 so the in real life they pool together 6 teams at a time to filter out some of the teams, and that way the discussion is about those 6 teams like 6 talked about, is that if you just do all 35 teams, everyone's all over the place. But 6, Holme had mentioned that you guys did test out. I'm going to go back to your guys' process so you can kind of explain it to us, is that you guys tested out 4 versus 6, and 6 being the real life, which to me would make more sense because you do adding 2 more teams to me would. So kind of explain that process on how you eliminated the 6 and 4.
What was happening was when we did 6, um, they everyone kind of struggled with comparing 6 teams. It was just and 6 is and it's only 6 in the beginning, I believe. But I need to double check that. Uh, hold on.
And
But
and,
we
and
did 6.
yeah, go ahead.
We did 6 in the beginning, the very first time, and what was happening was when we were adding teams, it just felt like too many teams to compare against each other. Um, because then it created all kind of issues. I don't remember exactly what it was, to be honest, because that was the first week that we did 6, and then we decided to move to 4, um, and just compare groups of 4. But I can't tell you for sure exactly what it was. I just remember the consensus being that 6 was just too many teams to compare against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if I remember right, it's only 6 for the first part. I think it's no longer 6 after that. But I'd have to double check.
And
So,
So
and what I mean by the first
I just have
part
a
is I
quick
mean
because
the top 4 is the only
Okay.
time you would do 6, and then after that it becomes 4 after that.
gotcha.
So instead of having 6 for the top 4, we just said do top 4 all the way through.
so just for my simple East Texas brain, because I want to make sure I got this right. So we can look and say that 1 through 4 were ranked together. You ranked 1 through 4. 5 through 8 were ranked together. 9 through 12, right? Is that what we're saying here? Like that's
No,
kind of
so
how the
it's 1
process
through
goes.
4 are ranked together for the top 3. 1 drops out, and then the one
I
who
got you.
drops out is automatically left for the next group. Then you add 3 to that group, and then they are factored in for
I
4,
got you.
5, and 6. And then
And
another one drops out.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
and obviously full
Okay.
disclosure, we we are vocally, like us in the media, when I say us, and us in the media vocally we get to criticize the CFP because we have a platform to do it on, right? But we all privately, we've had people on the on the committee here on the show, is we do understand how difficult it is. And I've never been on it, and I can't even imagine how difficult it is that we like think about from the grand scheme of things, we're in a men's virtual college football league, and we're doing things that these college football members are getting paid. They get paid to be on the committee, and they also have more time devoted for the committee, right? And so those are things that sometimes we lose track of in our virtual league here. Is we think that these committee members like Tiger and 6 being the chair, is that they have hours of countless times during the week to watch the video games being played, process the information. And so sometimes we lose sight of that, right? We do lose sight of that, you guys. And at least I know I do. And so we want you guys to know we do thank all the time that you put into it. We understand that it is, like you talked about, Six. This is a new process you're starting this year. That's probably going to explain why the first couple rankings were the way they were, right? As you guys are learning this new process, you're trying to apply the new methods. Um, this is much better than season 29, you guys. This is much better than season 16. This is much better than season 1.
Way better.
I
Way
mean,
better.
and I promise you that season 37 will be better than 35. And not because of the members, it's just because of the process, right? And so these are all great questions that we're answering. And like you guys talked about, is we really appreciate Six kind of explaining that process because we didn't know how they were doing it, right? We knew that there was a new process. We had no idea. And so a lot of it didn't make sense. And so I'm sure you guys got questions and stuff. Um, Tiger can also step in here and talk about their just the talks and stuff like that and the comparing the teams that they want. Six, I know you just woke up and stuff. We really appreciate you explaining the process and everything to you or to
No
us.
problem. No, and just want to say, and the process, this new process is going to continue to be refined because there were definitely some pain points during this that you know that I observed. So, I've gone to homie already about certain things that we need to clean up, um, because he hooked us up with a new platform to do it and stuff. So, um, it'll be refined over the off season, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is the process. This will be the process going forward, and we'll see how it works out on future seasons.
Yeah, so go ahead, Hubbard. I think Hubbard had some questions just about the teams and the comparison and
Yeah,
like bring up that example, Hubbard, and let him explain kind of how the process would eliminate that.
yeah. I'd stepped away, so I wasn't sure if you'd mentioned this Six. So, for example, when you're trying to decide what groups you're going to decide on next, like how you're going to rank the next groups, you get that four teams, right? How do you decide? All right, I think you said you're going to vote on the top four, right? So let's say you had the top four teams, which obviously included Texas, Ohio State, and Utah. Georgia maybe was the fourth team that dropped down. How did you decide the next three teams that go with Georgia in that next group?
So each member gets to nominate 3 teams, uh, and they
Okay,
submit those 3 nominations, and then the teams that get the most nominations are the teams that are put into to the group.
gotcha.
That's the
Okay,
only
I thought
time
maybe
that
you
the
had probably
committee does
mentioned that.
not talk to each other is during the nomination part, because I don't want to
Okay,
influence their nominations for who they believe are the next 3 teams before we come to a consensus on voting together.
okay, cool. Thank you. I guess my next question, and I know Six, you don't have a vote. I guess this may be a Tiger question. To me, that makes the Ole Miss thing even seem crazier, right? Because how did they not even get in? I guess that means they were in the third group, not even in the. I mean, I guess they might have been in the second group, but it looks to me like they weren't even in those first two groups, which is kind of crazy. And Six, you may not want to answer that. We can ask Tiger that, but
Uh,
I guess
They
I'd be
were in the
curious to know how
second
that
group.
played out as
They
well.
were in the second group. They just dropped down.
Gotcha.
But yeah, if you want reasoning
So
behind people's votes, Tiger is the best person to ask for that.
yeah,
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 so
yeah, for sure.
so
No, for
sell
sure.
us on explain how they dropped down.
Let's see.
Tiger, do you want to
Who?
say
That's
that
my
how Ole Miss dropped down?
yeah. So Ole Miss, where we got them 8? Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what happened last night during that discussion. Um, yeah, I mean it's just all really close right there together with everybody, and it's kind of just
If you don't remember,
tough
I kind of remember because
to
all I
get
have to
those
do is pay
guys in the
attention.
right order. I mean, yeah, you could make an argument for them being higher, but who was their best win? I don't have a schedule in front of me.
And I'm not saying it's a bad way to look at it, but obviously somebody mentioned this in the chat. I feel like this is a best win kind of bracket. I think NTX said that. This feels like a very heavily best win bracket, right? Tiger, would
Yeah,
you agree with that maybe?
yeah, definitely. I think we put more weight on who you beat
which I
in the
like,
season.
by the way. I agree with you guys on that. Wins are wins, baby. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And I am looking. I did pull it up for you, Tiger. It does look like Ole Miss's best dub is over Wake Forest.
yeah. So
So
see, yeah.
nothing too exciting.
So I have a question for you.
Well, no,
So
it's LSU, by the way. LSU, they're ranked in the CFP, right? Where you ranked 23rd, Penguin. So that's Ole Miss's best win at home against LSU.
So those three teams out, right? Like that's the big question is the three teams that compared each other, like Oregon, Tennessee, and Missouri. To me, those actually like that doesn't affect me as much because it was so close. Those teams were so close. It was going to be pretty subjective to how the committee was viewing it. We could probably take
Yeah.
those three teams over the last 4 years of committees, and you may have a different result in rankings every time, right? But for me, my biggest question is the back end of the rankings, which do matter. How in the world do we compare an Alabama and a Jacksonville State, and you guys put Jacksonville State in the ranking and not an Alabama team? Like, how does that work? Explain to us that kind of process.
Think there we were just kind of giving some love to those guys that had really good seasons, and just kind of giving them a little credit for what they've accomplished this season.
Okay. So what about Western Kentucky? What about CMU? I mean, I'm just saying, like, if you're going to give those guys love, I'm fine with it. But Western Kentucky did beat Jacksonville State in the championship game. And look, I know, like, I get it at the end, right? Like,
Yeah,
I know it doesn't seem like it matters, and obviously, the truth of the matter is the way you guys are evaluating it now, it doesn't matter that Tennessee might have beaten an Alabama who might be 24th because that was already done, right? So, I guess I don't know. It's
yeah.
I
Look, I
understand the
mean,
process. It does mirror real life in a way.
it didn't put any weight on our decision looking at who was in those 20
Yeah.
to 25 spots, really.
Is this the first time we've
Um,
ever gone back this far, 6 in the ranking, all the way to 25? Or did they do it once last year?
We
I
didn't
think
in
we
the
had to
past.
do it
We never
last
compared
year
20
because
25 teams.
conference championships were
Yep.
a few of those were decided on who's going.
Yeah.
Yeah, tiebreakers. Yep.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
in my mind, I hope that hearing, I'm sure the committee members and I'm sure Six takes some of the feedback that he sees and hears, is that I really hope that they do realize that that these rankings, I love that they do top 25. I love it. Is that they do take some of this back because it does matter. Because we talk about resumes, we talk about wins. How can you tell me Oregon has a good win at Penn State and Indiana because they're ranked, but you guys didn't want to rank Alabama because you wanted to give credit to mid-major teams that had good seasons? That's not fair. That's not fair.
That's
And
great.
so hopefully that's taken back next year is like, hey, when we do that in the poll, do that in the top 25 poll. I don't like, but in the CFP, we can't. Like my opinion is that we can't just and I'm sure it'll change. Six already said things are changing. There's some things that he wants to do, and I'm sure the comparison between teams will change a little bit, how that's done and stuff. But Tiger, for you personally, just real quick, you personally, okay, because I don't want you to have to speak for the other members, but you personally, we see the Missouri Miami matchup at the top, right? Two teams head to head. Kind of explain me your process and how you would have ranked those teams with the Missouri and the Miami because they played each other.
I think so. Would they win by 3 against Miami? Miami won their conference. Missouri's got one win on there that you know is iffy.
You referring to that Oklahoma game, Tiger?
Yeah, but that kind of made it. I mean, we knew that was not. It was a win. You can't punish him for somebody else being a dumbass, but you know, it played into it. I'll say that. And I see. I would disagree here. I think Oregon should be out and Tennessee should be in. But there was 7 other people that thought differently.
Yeah,
I
appreciate
just think
that.
that USC loss is god awful. At the end of the season, a little recency bias there, but
Plus, Oregon's at home there.
yeah, they're at home.
That's
Yeah,
a
and
huge
Missouri
advantage.
lost on the road at an SEC, home field advantage. If you've played in the SEC, you know how insane those home field advantages get.
Mhm.
And so that for me was the biggest difference between those two. And yeah, they beat Penn State and beat Indiana, but I mean South Florida beat Penn State too. So
Right.
Man.
Hey, at
Like
the
I
end of
say,
the day, these teams all control their own destiny anyway. You know what I mean? Every
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So when you're going to bitch and moan about, spot number 11, like at the end of the day, it's the owner and the coach more than the committee. You want to get in the playoff, you win the games. You guys don't have an easy job. Uh, so again, I appreciate y'all doing it. I do agree with you guys that you do have to take the wins into consideration, which is clearly what happened here with Oregon versus Tennessee. Tennessee does not have any sexy victories if you're going off
no, they don't.
the CFP top 25 at all. Like they have none. So, and he'll probably bitch and complain again where he's like, oh well, I scheduled harder. I played Kansas State and Virginia Tech. Well, guess what? Tough beans, brother. They played like crap this year, so that's unlucky. That's part of the game.
Yeah, no, yeah. Like I
Well,
see
like
somebody
last
over
year,
here saying we did literally talk about these 3 teams for an hour last night. I mean,
Yeah, it's crossing hairs or split hairs. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah.
But
somebody
yep,
had to get left out, and
yep.
it's just unfortunate.
Tiger, here's the good news. Last year you were there and we put a 4-loss Arkansas team in. Fortunately, they won a couple games and made us look right, and
Well, we
that's
were
what we're going to have a
100%
chance
right
to do,
about that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had
And so
one person on the committee try to sway us all out of doing that, but
What kind of loser ass
Yeah.
coach would lose to a 4-loss team in the CFP? I mean, come on,
I wasn't gonna go there. I wasn't gonna go there.
yeah.
What kind of loser would do that?
But I only say it to say Oregon has a chance to prove you right, right? Like Oregon has a chance to prove it that you
Yeah.
guys were right, and we'll see how that plays out. Everybody thought we were the dumbest ass people ever last year putting Arkansas in, and Smitty still thinks we are. That's okay, but now now we'll see what happens here. But listen, it's a tough job, Tiger. I know it. I was there last year. It's completely crazy to get 12 or how many people we had in the committee to all agree on those things. To even come to a consensus is tough. I get it. Six has a tough job. And listen, to Six's credit, he kind of talked about this, but he probably doesn't get enough credit because he literally listens to 10 to 12 guys bitch and moan about things for sometimes an hour and a half or 2 hours, and he never puts his opinion in there, which I respect that. He does a great job. And it's a tough, thankless job. He has to come here and listen to us bitching him, and Tiger's taking ass chewing from us, and he probably didn't deserve it either. But no, it's a tough job, and those guys have a tough job, and we should give them a little more credit for that.
Yeah, there's no way that I mean, with my personality, that I could sit in one of those meetings and not say something, right? Like what Six does is crazy to have that type of
I was
personality.
in there with Weasel. I was in there with Weasel, guys. I mean, good God.
Yeah.
That's insane. Love Weasel, but not in that situation.
There are a few others that have strong personalities and opinions. We won't mention them out loud, but they're still here.
So,
Well, we
guys,
definitely appreciate all the hard work and explanation, even if we don't agree with parts of it. It definitely appreciates the fact that you all can give us reasoning and tell us, why you did what you did.
Yeah,
Do I just I agree with a lot of that? No, absolutely not. I could fight. Fight's the wrong word. I could definitely argue about it for a while, but the explanation is what it is, and you know, we appreciate that for sure.
And hey, no first round rematches, which I love to see. I don't like when we get a teams that played in the first during the season playing each other and open the playoffs.
I wanted to see
that
Miami
is
Notre Dame
purely
again. I
luck.
wanted to see
We
that.
took that was not in consideration at all. Matchups were not considered at all.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, we
Yeah,
purely
I'm
lucked
gonna
into it. I
say,
mean, it's a great bracket, I think.
It is a good looking bracket.
yeah, with the new method, you really can't. I mean, you really have no control
No,
over that, honestly, right?
yeah,
With what you
no,
guys,
no. The way we do it now, the way we used to do it, you could definitely do it. But now it doesn't matter.
I think that quadrant with Oregon, Kansas, and Utah is the most interesting because all three of those teams, I feel like they don't know who to like. All three of them, good players, and it's interesting for sure. Like that's a favorable little quadrant right over there.
Yeah, for sure. I like the JMU and BYU matchup too.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think
Tim told, I think it was Tim, that he's probably stoked. That's probably his best matchup.
I
Yep.
think we probably got JMU a little low, to be honest. I mean, Glizzy
Yeah.
is playing his ass off right now,
Hmm.
and dog walked me earlier in the season.
He's a good player.
Yeah, he's good, man. And I think he could pull that off. He might be the first G5 to win a playoff game.
I think it's set up for that to give him the best opportunity for that with the first round matchups that could have been played out.
Yeah,
Man,
George is sitting pretty there, by the way, at
yep.
4, getting the winner of BYU and JM. Yeah, he's sitting pretty there.
Hey, and if any of you guys in the live chat, if you guys end up reaching out to your opponents and you guys are going to play at some point today, let us know.
Please.
There are some guys on the media that said that they may try to get on and broadcast the game and stuff. But also, if you just let us know what night you're playing, we can try to get some media guys on to broadcast the game and visit. Obviously, NDL CFP time is exciting in the NDL here. Did anybody have any other questions for Six?
Again, fellas.
Yeah, appreciate it, Six. I appreciate you coming on the show and taking time to come out on the show this morning.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, and just to kind of throw in there how little of an opinion I get with these guys, there's no way in hell, my personal opinion, I would have put UMass and all those other teams at the bottom. And everyone knows this about me. There's no way in hell I would have put those teams at the bottom because I have a huge bias against G5 teams. Sorry, I know I lost against CMU, but I suck.
Boy, I agree. I agree.
But I suck. So
yeah,
I'm not going to give you credit for beating me. I would I when I saw those, I was like, the bottom 25 is easy for me. It's LSU, Alabama, and Vandy, and people were like, yeah, we know, but we don't care. So that's how little my
yeah.
opinion matters.
I wasn't going to throw Six under the bus, but I remember a couple of conversations where he said, "Look, if you put a G5 before like number 27, we're going to fight." So
I agree with you. You've heard me on the show. I can't. I think the G they need their own playoff.
Come on, JMU, I need you to win a game. Shut
Yeah,
these guys
right.
up a
Hey,
little bit.
that'll. I mean, if
Just
he
win one
wins,
game.
he wins though. That does strengthen
But
maybe heading into the next
Win one game.
game.
that's
Well,
what they need
this
towards.
is their best chance.
Watch both of those games last year: Tulane at Ole Miss and JMU at Oregon. Absolute flogging. Yeah.
it's funny because all I've heard all year is how great BYU is, and now we're saying JMU has a chance to beat them.
Yeah.
But
Like,
but
come on.
Pat, you're out there telling me the committee gets it right and does a good job in real life and stuff using these systems.
They're supposed to. They're forced. It's the rules that are written. That's why I told you the year before when Boise got a bye. What a fucking joke!
Yeah. They did
See, you
change the
can't tell me
rules.
they're doing a good job.
Yeah, but they
then.
did change the
But
rules
Because
after the
they set
Boise
the
thing.
rules they're following.
After the Boise thing, they changed the rules the next year, right? Remember, then they got
Exactly.
rid of the automatic bids and they could seed themselves.
They should.
And then what
Yeah.
happens? They
Didn't
leave Notre
ASU get a bye
Yeah, but
too?
they leave Notre Dame out, and then they change the rules again so that Notre Dame can get in, right? Like
but it-
it's just the NCAA
Yep.
doing what they
but
need
in
to do to.
fairness, in fairness, in real life, the committee does not make the rules. The conference commissioners make the rules. The committee just has to go with what they're given. So the committee did the best they could do with that shit show last year, obviously. But and listen, I mean, it is what it is. When your conference champions are who they are, I mean, you gotta place them where you gotta place them. No, Tiger Six do a great job. Did a great job. And listen, we don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. Hell no, I don't agree with it. But I know that that's the beauty of it, right? Listen, if one person sat in a room and decided the CFP, we'd all hate that one person worse than we hate this committee right now, right? Smitty would have all of his anger towards one person last year instead of the whole group. So, I mean, there's not a better solution, guys. I mean, really, there's not. There's not a better solution than what we have.
Yep. And hey, real quick, Six, before you hop off, we talked about it pre-show a little bit. Some of us is that the committee in real life does 3-year. Usually, people do 3-year terms that are on the committee. Is there any talk now that you implemented a new system is allowing a certain amount of people to come back each season? And then opening it up for new guys, right? So that you stagger it out. Maybe season 1 next year, you keep half of the guys, and then you open it up for the other half. Is there any talk about that to try to keep some consistency so that week 1 it isn't all brand new guys every game, every season?
Oh, so to be honest, we have a lot of repeat CFP members,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and part of that is because to be eligible for the CFP, you can't be eligible for the CFP, right? You can't be like in the running for it. And since we have to decide uh who's allowed in the CFP early on in the season, way before the picture is completely clear, it's usually guys I'm I don't mean to be mean, but are clearly way out of contention of the CFP by like week 8. So unfortunately, you're gonna have a
Hubbard.
lot of the same members because in the CFP because um, unfortunately guys who lose get stuck on bad teams the very next year. So there's a good chance they're gonna end up losing again because they're on bad teams, right? And unfortunately, it becomes a cycle every now and then. You get a bad team, you lose. You get another bad team, you lose again. Anytime I can get some new blood within the CFP, I do. Um, but a lot of times, maybe half are members who have been on it before, and half of it is new members. But we always have members who've been on there before, just because that's how it ends up working out. But I don't wanna keep the voice of just one voice every year.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to mix in a group of people who have done it and people who, uh, who haven't done it yet. So that's usually the process. And two, it also depends on who the commissioners nominate, 'cause
Yep.
commissioners get to nominate the people. And I know a lot of commissioners now are just like, "Hey, who wants to do the CFP?" And so sometimes it goes that way, but there's also people I've asked to do the CFP and they just don't have time, right? So um, I've asked a lot of people over the years, well, over the seasons to do the CFP, and some always have time and some don't have time. So sometimes we get a lot of the same members, but when I can, I try to add some new blood in there. But uh, there are guys who've been on the CFP multiple times.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Really appreciate your time and everything that you put into the NDL. Is obviously most of the time people don't see it until the very end of the season, the work that you do, but obviously it starts at the beginning of the season for you. And you obviously do a lot for the bowl games too. A lot of people don't know you and a couple other guys put together the bowls. You try to mimic real life. And obviously that shows on the outliers this afternoon where they're going to release the bowl games. And you do the best you can to do all the tie-ins, which are slowly changing in real life, right? With teams starting to opt out of the bowl games and stuff like that. And so we really appreciate your time and stuff that you put in the NDL 6.
Oh no, anytime, man.
Yeah, and so obviously Tiger's going to hang out with us, take some picks of the 4 games. We got 4 matchups that are starting in the NDL CFP. Do you guys got any more questions for the committee members here?
Well, I've got 4 minutes
No, we've
available. I
hit it
gotta
Oh,
all.
I
go.
get to be the guest picker. Awesome. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know I was getting to do that.
Excuse me. Yeah, so we'll throw up the first game up here is the Miami versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss getting to host the game against Devin and the Miami Hurricanes, who, man, we almost wrote him off. We almost wrote Miami off right at the beginning of the season. Kind of came on strong there at the very end, where Ole Miss kind of was there all season. Um, Obviously, you can see the numbers and stuff on the new graphics here on the site. I'm sure you guys have a little harder time seeing this here. I'll zoom in so you guys can see. Um, and when I say you guys, I mean not the members here. So you guys see obviously the new graphics that'll be available to us next season kind of show all the metrics and stuff for the 2 teams. And we'll just go ahead and start this off, Penguin. You're muted, Penguin.
I see that. Thank you. This is the tough one for sure. I mean, home field sure is going to matter here some, but man, has Miami looked good lately. um, but you know what? I'm gonna go with the Rebels. I'm gonna say that offense. It's gonna be a high scoring shootout. Why not? They've only gone down 1 time this season. Yeah, go Rebs.
Yeah, I've got the Rebels in this game. Get to see that offense for a full 4 quarters. I think Tim talked about Chambly's season this year, and he's had a few games where he didn't even play into the 4th quarter, really. So I think they're just going to be a hard offense to hold down for 4 quarters. It is always curious this final season. I don't know how often these guys have been playing outside of like their league games. Like, are they in online dynasties? Do they play scrimmages? Do they play
Yeah, great
Madden? Do they
point.
play the show instead? So
Great
I
point.
don't know how much Jumper's been playing, but if you give me the Ole Miss that I saw in the middle of the season versus the Miami that I saw in the season, I'll just take Ole Miss here as the home team and the better uniforms.
Ooh, with the better uniforms. Okay.
Like,
Yeah. I as much as I like playoff Devin, right? Um, I got to go with Ole Miss too. I mean, I think they're way better than the 9th best team or 8th best team, whatever it is they are. Um, Playoff Devon's good, but I'm going to go with the Rebels here in jumper.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking the over, whatever it is, 80, 86, 90. I'm taking that over, maybe even 100. I'm going to take the over in this game. I think it'll be an exciting game. This will be the biggest offensive matchup in the first round, I think, for quick scores. I don't think there'll be much defense in this game, and I'm going to have Ole Miss winning. I think they're going to win by a score, and I think it's because they steal a score before half. That's why they're going to win, right? They're going to get that quick score at the end of the game, get the ball in the second half, and then that puts them ahead. I got Ole Miss winning this one.
what do you think?
I'm
Tiger,
sitting
you're on
here
mute.
looking at this.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Give me the Canes.
Okay.
Simple as that.
I
Like it.
think Devin's playing pretty good right now. I mean, he just waxed Wake Forest, so kind of hot.
Yeah, shut him out too. Played defense, right? We said
Yeah.
there's not going to be any defense in this game, and Miami goes out and shuts out one of the best offensive teams in the league. Wake.
Yeah,
Like
that
it.
was a surprising score. The next game.
Are we going? Okay, so that would be Notre Dame, Missouri is our next game.
Nope, right here. Sorry.
Is that right?
I put it up there. It's Oregon, Kansas.
Oregon, Kansas. So we're going in that order. Okay. Oregon, Kansas. You know, I I I, I like picking confidence, Smitty, and I don't know if we're going to get confident Smitty in this matchup. Just being he hasn't had great success against Shell, and we all talked about that Oregon speed. And shoot, if Shell's ever going to make a run again, it's now in a time when a lot of us are saying he shouldn't be in. So we're going to get him playing with a bit of an edge, and I'm actually this one might even get away from Kansas. So I see the Ducks winning.
Yeah, I want to pick Smitty, I do, but Shell has his number. I just think this is such a roster mismatch that there's going to be plays that are just going to fluster Smitty because he's going to have guys, he's going to call the right call and he's still going to get beat on a play here or there. Um, Smitty is a fantastic user, especially, he's got a guy up for the Thorpe Award. He's got a safety that's playing really well. I just think I don't know. I just feel like the roster difference is going to be too much for the advantage. And I would say normally that Smitty's a better coach than Shell, but that is not true. Shell has his number. And I just think it's one of those things that, a hump to get over. So I'm going to take Oregon by like 14. Yeah. Best matchup he could have gotten
Yeah, I mean,
outside of maybe playing JMU.
yeah, I mean, this is a matchup, right, where home field advantage will not be a factor at all, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the Kansas home field advantage versus an Oregon roster is not going to be a difference. Oregon is going to have guys that run by the Kansas guys. Listen, Smitty knows how to use his team, you know, but the Ducks are going to win this one, and I'm with you, Pat. I think it's probably a couple touchdowns.
Yeah.
We talked about it pregame, and I think it was Pat mentioned it. Is that obviously over the last 5 seasons we pick against Oregon a lot in the big games, right? And he's always kind of done the opposite to us. But he's also a team that could have been left out of the CFP this season, and a lot of people would have agreed with it, right? All 5 of us here thought Oregon should have been out, including Tiger. But now you're talking about an Oregon team, which Shell's done it before, right? On the outside looking in and ends up making a run in the CFP. He's set up to do the same thing again here. Very favorable matchup against Kansas. I think it's going to be a good game. I'm with you though, Pat. I think that Oregon has too many playmakers on the field to where defensively, I think they're going to smother Kansas. Unless Smitty can take a page out of the playbook from USC. I watched that game. Dot did a great job taking away the flood concept away from Oregon. One of his biggest pass plays on the offensive side of the ball. It's been like that for a long time. Making the 1-2-3 read on the flood, and Dot just took that completely away from him. If Smitty can do that, he makes it a game, right? Because Oregon doesn't like running the ball. Kansas does. But man, I just see him pulling away here in the fourth quarter, and I think it'll be a 1-score game though. You're up, Tiger.
I think Smitty pulls it out. I think he's out for blood.
There you
A
go.
little rivalry going on here. And I just don't think, I mean, if USC can beat Oregon in Oregon, Kansas can damn sure beat them in Kansas.
I like it. And they're not the underdog, right? Kansas isn't the underdog right now. They're 2.5-point favorite against Oregon. So
All right. So now James Madison and BYU. So we mentioned as far as rosters go, this should be in theory a pretty competitive game. BYU's got a little bit of home field advantage. Gorgeous campus, but it's not an impossible place to win by any means. And Madison's got some playmakers. But I think the way BYU plays will be very tough for James Madison to counter. They're gonna just hammer you with that physical running attack, hit some shots over the top, and I think that'll be I think that'll be a little much for the Dukes to handle. So give me the Mormons winning this game by a couple scores.
Yeah, I've got both uh, sheets up and stats, and it's such a tough one. I'm so adamant about G5 teams and how I feel about them. But this one, I almost want to pick James Madison. Almost. The only reason I'm not going to is because I have too much of a damn ego to change my mind on this. I really like what James Madison's doing on offense. He's got 4 receivers over 400 yards receiving with multiple with touchdowns. Over 5 touchdowns. Good efficiency at the quarterback spot, almost a 200 passer rating. And then he's got 4 guys that run the football. So I think that he'll keep BYU on his heels a little bit. But Penguin mentioned it. BYU is almost a top 25 ranked stadium in the game. And I think that will help. And I think Bear Bachmeyer, which by the way, quick plug here, coached against him when he was in high school. Hell of a football player. Holy shit, he wears number 47 at quarterback. It's the strangest thing on planet Earth. So give me BYU with a late stop to win the game. I do think this will be the closest first round game we get right here. Jeremy?
Yeah, I got BYU here, and listen, Glizzy's had a great year, right? I mean, he's been dominant. Won a couple of, I guess he beat Virginia. I don't know what other P4 games he won, but I just I got to go with BYU here. I just think that that's a talented roster. Number one, it's a good coach. See, all year long, you guys told me how great BYU was. I didn't buy into it till later in the year. I'm not going to stop now, and BYU wins. I just don't think the rosters match up well. I mean, I don't even agree that it's a great matchup for him. Honestly, I think if it was James Madison in Kansas, now we're talking. I just don't think against BYU it can happen.
Yeah, so I mean, inside information here is Glizzy and Coach Razorback have been scrimmaging every single night, getting ready for the CFP here. They've been training in the gym together. I have JMU winning, big upset here. Gonna prove all the G5 haters that it is possible. Okay, and I'm not taking anything away from Coach CJ. Is that just Glizzy's a great coach, and this matchup I think helps him more than it hurts him against any other team and stuff. And so I have James Madison, and I'm with you, Pat. I think this is going to be the best game of the first round, meaning it's going to go down to the wire. And I got James Madison winning at the end of the game.
Yep, totally agree. Same, gonna be a close game. I think Glizzy pulls it off though. Guy can play some defense. He's got 2 shutouts on the year.
We got a breaking announcement, by the way. Ole Miss and Miami are playing at 1:30 today.
There you go, right before the bowl announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. All right, so we got just gives us one more game to pick here, right?
Yep.
Got Notre Dame and Missouri. Classic matchup, of course, when it comes to college football powers. But I think this, in my opinion, actually will be the most entertaining and most competitive game of the 4 first round ones. Personally, I think, as everyone knows, and many people have told me that even though I'm not on their bandwagon, that RB and the Irish are playing quite well and have some really good wins lately. And it's true, they are playing well. Same time, Missouri has had a hell of a season as well, and I think they're as motivated as a team. It's Big Red there, wanting to give a chance to prove himself and have his best season yet in the NDL here. That Missouri team has got the guys I think to match up with what Notre Dame brings. It's a heck of a front line on that defense there that is going to be able to at least win enough plays versus that Notre Dame explosive running attack. And that Missouri offense as well has got a running back of their own in Hardy, who I believe actually has had a better season than Love has had for Notre Dame. Given that, I feel the momentum maybe on Notre Dame's side, but I just feel like Missouri is going to win this game. I think it's a game that comes down to the very last possession, with Missouri scoring on the road under touchdown Jesus to win late by a single score.
Ooh, so interesting. I'm going to say this right now. This game is not close. I think Mizzou gets his ass handed to him. Not playing well at the end of the year. We've all said it on here. Should have absolutely lost to OU. Should have lost to Mississippi State. Has the great wins. Had a great start to the season. Looks like the Florida Gators who tapered off. Okay. Meanwhile, Notre Dame has finished the year just as good as anybody. I know we don't talk about cup games, but has beat Ole Miss and Ohio State in those games, which are NDL sanctioned games. And yes, again, shouldn't be taken into account for rankings, but that's just the product on the field. And I think he's going to absolutely win this game before. I don't even think this is a bad matchup for Mizzou. And I think RB takes care of business. Mizzou quarterback.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, right? Because these, yeah, uh, I hate this matchup for me personally to have to pick it because these are two guys that I've gotten to talk to a lot more throughout this year. Big Red and I've had a lot of good talks. He's had a fun his streams are up there with Chip's on who's fun to watch, right? It's Big Red and Chip for different reasons. One's G rated and one is not. Um, you know, I think Missouri, as good of a year they've had, at the end, it didn't look as great as it did early on. You know, like when he got the Alabama win, it looked really good. When he got the Miami win, it looked really good. He got the loss was to Kansas, who Smitty obviously is a really good player. But RB, man, is playing the best that I've seen him play. I mean, just Pat and I are on the same page with this one. I think that Notre Dame is just playing as well as he can. I scrimmaged him the other night and we had this conversation. I told him, I was like, man, the bracket for you will determine, I feel like, how far you can go. And I think this is a good matchup for him in the first round at home. The second round will be a different story, and we'll get there if we get there. But I like the Irish too in this one, and it hurts me because I like my SEC guy. I like Big Red. I just think RB is playing really well right now, and he's a dark horse pick to get to the end.
Yeah, this one's close for me, but I think the big difference in the game is I'm with you guys. Arby's been playing great, Notre Dame's been playing great, and Missouri is the opposite, right? It's like when are you hot, when are you not hot? Um, I think Big Red is going to have a problem passing the ball here. Notre Dame's secondary and his defense has played really well. He's going to force Missouri into throwing the ball, and I just don't think Big Red's patient enough to run the ball the entire game. On defense, we've talked about it before. Stop the run, stop the short pass against Notre Dame, force RB to throw deep. I don't think Missouri's going to be able to do that. I do think he pulls away in the second half because Missouri keeps trying to push the ball down the field and turns it over. I'm hammering this spread of 3 with Notre Dame.
Scott, 3 point spread.
3
Yeah,
points. That's
3
the spread.
points.
Put
Yep.
all your money on
Oh my
Notre
God.
Notre Dame.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
Whatever the
absolutely.
max bet is, Notre Dame all day. Missouri's got a good running back. He gets worn out easy. Like Pat said, that quarterback is suspect at best. Yeah, give me the
And
Irish
and I
all
and I
day.
just want you all to know. I want you all to know. We're all going to be on Big Red stream if he wins because he is known to play back the game day quotes in his post
Well,
game.
I'll listen.
Good.
Yeah.
I pick up 1 or
I'll
2
wear it.
gym songs every time I watch his stream, so
He's
that
going to be
alone is worth it.
blaring 2 Live Crew and just letting it
Amen.
rip.
Amen. As he should.
If he wins,
Yep.
I'll wear it. If he wins, I'll wear it for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll tell you, man. If I'm gonna go look. I don't know if Andy's posting future odds, and I don't want to jinx RB, but go look at Notre Dame futures to win the Natty. Really, yeah.
That's right.
The way
Yeah.
he's playing, I'm gonna watch that cup game against Ohio State. Whether Canada is locked in or not, I don't give a shit. It was a ass whooping, and I just believe that when you're playing well, you get this confidence that you're not going to lose. Like nothing can go wrong. You know what I mean? So I would just like to be curious what the odds are on that.
Then what you mentioned your favorite there. Who's your favorite, Tiger? I'll start with you. Who's your favorite to win the CFP this year, Tiger?
Kennedy. I mean, easy. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be. It's probably. I mean, it's probably gonna end up being him and Jiggy again, and I think he's just got Jiggy's number.
What about you, Penguin?
I want to pick the 3-peat, but I think Jiggy breaks through and gets him this year and finally wins his first title in what's it been, 10 years. But I think Jiggy gets through and gets it done in those god awful Texas uniforms.
Easy. Easy.
I think the winner of Jiggy and Georgia, if they play, will win the Natty. That's my pick.
Yeah. I was gonna say if you're not gonna go with Jiggy or Kennedy, Tuddy's got to be in the conversation. I mean, he would be the third guy in that room. I'll still stick by RB as a dark horse, but I would go. I'm going to go Jiggy in Texas because I think it's time. But I'm with you. I could see Georgia winning it as well.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite is probably Texas. I do think that Texas has the toughest route if you're to take the 1 and the 2 seed, just the way that everything kind of lined out. But man, I just have Texas. I think this year hosting the game. I don't know who hosted it last year, but obviously special teams was a nightmare last year in the playoffs and the year before for teams with kickoff. I think that season 3 now teams have you can tell Jiggy's been in the chat telling you exactly how to stop the kick return. So he's made it a point that he wasn't going to get beat by that. If anybody watched a national championship game, that's a big reason why he lost last year. And so I'm going with Jiggy here.
And he would say the reason.
Yeah, it was the reason. Loaded CFP bracket this year. Man, Tiger, we really appreciate you coming on the show and be willing to answer some of the tough questions and just listen to us talk about how bad you guys are in the CFP. But
Yeah,
we really
thanks.
appreciate
Anytime, man.
Yeah, really appreciate you coming on the show and taking a beating for us and talking to us about your CFP and your opinion and stuff like that. Really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Anybody else have any other questions or anything like that? Anything else?
No. I got to
You got a gain of 130. That's awesome. Yeah, Jeremy. Hey, your seltzer should be there.
Yeah, I'm gonna sneak my phone in and my headphones and watch the game in the bowl. I've never made a bowl game, guys. I'm gonna find out at 2:00 when this stupid play starts.
So you're gonna stand up and cheer at some point, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I love that Olaf character.
Yep. Great.
Man, take care. Appreciate it. Not sure when the next game day will be on, but we're going to have one again to close out the season at some point. Yeah, man, really appreciate it. You guys enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the summer, right? Enjoy the summer. Game day, be able to enjoy some Saturdays with the family and stuff. We really appreciate it. And hey, don't forget to sign up for the NDL convention, man. Hubbard made breaking news. He's coming. Penguin will be there. Pat will be there. Tiger should be there. A guy lives like what? How far away from Nashville are you? Like 6 hours?
3. No, dude, like 3 hours.
Oh, so yeah, so you're gonna show up there.
Yeah,
Okay,
3.5,
awesome.
I think.
Awesome, man. It'll be exciting. We got lots of people that are planning on attending even for a day or two, which will be exciting, man.
I'm still on the fence. I may be able to make it. I don't know. We'll see. We're a little far out to be planning that. So.
All right, see you guys.
See you guys.
Peace.
Later, fellas.
Let it go. Let
Thanks.
it go.